Let's see. Dog versus Shadow Imp. Wow. Hound beats Shadow Imp. Not exactly what I expected. It's what I hoped, for sure. And there we go. Back to the safe strats here. Very fortunate that we had this as an option for how we take care of those eels, because they are absolutely deadly this early. Ooh. Curse of Melee Combat and Beguiling being offered by our main deity Shinzari here. So hexes and translocations are beguiling. I should have tried to guess that one, like we've been doing before actually opening it. I think I would have guessed like stealth, maybe hexes, but not translocations and especially not conjurations, which surprises me. But this is a nice early curse. Again, to get those early advantages onto our weapons does definitely pay dividends, especially since that's what's keeping us consistent in the early game here is our melee options until some nice spells show up and we're able to train up all these different schools to the relevant point where we can actually cast all set spells. Because if we can get our weapon skills high enough and consistent enough, we could even switch over to slightly heavier armor here, which might be nice. Maybe keeping the ability to cast these two spells that have gone us through the early part of the game, but otherwise stepping it up a little bit in the defensive category. So let's do it. And this time probably going on the Ring of Protection, since that's fairly likely to stick with us for a while, but eventually be kicked out in lieu of an artifact ring or maybe a more niche resistance that we're really in need of. So I'm happy to start there, at least for the early game. I'm also going to pick up the Potion of Mutation for now, and then we'll likely end up stashing those at some point in our journey. And, definitely at the point now where we could head back up to our Sigmund friend. So we don't have Seen Viz yet, but we might not need it with the extra health pool that we have now, along with our extra offensive capability. Maybe what will convince me here is the amount of money, because if we had enough to go up and immediately buy a kite shield, it's worth the trip, right? So in fact, even if we are strong enough to take out Sigmund, I think I will wait for now until we have to make that trip. Also, okay, I think it only lets me cast Poisonous Vapors because there is something poison susceptible on the screen, but it confused me for a moment that it was targeting the Phantom here, because I was pretty sure that that would not be someone that we could infect with poison, and it turns out that is indeed the case. I am gonna actually take this frog upstairs, because I would like to take this Phantom up here. Before that happened was my main goal. Hello, sir. Please come upstairs with me. Perfect. Much better. And then together we can gang up on that son of a gun. We did see Menkar at the other side of the stairway here. So let's head down and maybe give a view. Should be, again, a fight that we can take, especially with his susceptibility to fire. We do have a Wand of Flame, so big ups on that. Of course, Haste, Symbol of Torment, always a little bit scary, because even though we're quite ahead in terms of health as to when we normally face this bad boy, that can change very quickly. Let's do it here. Can find a place where, ooh, I was hoping just Menkar was visible, not in the stars for us here, so we immediately get tormented. You son of a... But Pain can't kill me in one hit now, but I am very concerned. Oh gosh, really? Oh, that's unfortunate. Let's see, when does that change? Not until you're a whole lot closer to us. So let's head upstairs, shall we? Maybe even still continue the plan here. Bring in an ally. Not worth it in the end. So, reset the fight once more as we again get tormented down to half health. I'm hoping. Dang it, Menkar, stop hiding behind a mushroom. Like he knows. So, we're gonna just go to a different stairwell for now. maybe a slightly better engagement position. It turns out that they've completely given up at watching the bottom of those stairways. Instead, we're just going to be surprised whenever we run into them next. Isn't that fun? Everyone loves surprises, right? But hopefully, nothing too scary here. Necrophage, eh? You are considered dangerous at this stage. That's good to note. Let's bring in a doggy pal again. And again. Just somebody to keep part of our enemy group here distracted. And there we go. We can now take the flying beast or the sky beast upstairs. Take them out just on our own here and fight this necrophage. I was going to say a one-on-one, but that's not true on my end. It's going to be 2v1. Close the door. Perfect. That's exactly the situations that you want to be finding centaurs in, of course. Keep it going. Ready to run into... Ooh, is that the same centaur zombie? Where did Mankar go? Tell me what you know. Oh, there we are. So, let's start blasting and hopefully just take this buddy out before too many torments or pains, and indeed that does seem to be the case. Not quite as bad as our previous attempt there. Also, can poison some of these branded weapons that are in the back. The nice thing about smite targeting, for sure. And there we go. We get another Zari offering. So this one will give us introspection, if I remember correctly. I think we got last time, and that was fighting and spellcasting. And beguiling is again conjurations. Don't think too much of it helps us now, even though that could change quickly with even just a single spell book. But we might as well curse this other ring. Especially considering the fact that we can always break the chains later, right? Let's do so. Let's see where that leaves us. Slightly better off here, and up to 5.5 in the relevant schools. Very cool. I guess we did have some translocations. I really should have checked the success rates before going in to check them now, but because this is still in the yellow category, it does make me assume that the only reason why this is down to such a low percentage is due to those skill training boons. Let's keep it going here. Ooh, full broadaxe is nice. Oh, Steam Dragons. We ran into one of you when we were playing on Wednesday, and it was sketchy the whole time. Just a few balls of steam can definitely finish us off here. But it at least also blocks the sight from the Steam Dragon being able to immediately hit us again. So, can try and use that to our advantage here. Continually stack poison, then run away. Oh, apparently we did too well in our sneaking away. Hello? Hello? No? Okay, no clue where that buddy ended up, which I don't love, to be fair, or to be straight with you, but ideally, don't run into them at the most inopportune moment. Maybe just a slightly inopportune moment. By maybe I mean please game. Okie dokie, here we are. Did fulfill my request at the very least. So they had 30 health. Ice Blast could just take them out, so let's start with that. Maybe apply some poison. I should step out of this cloud, so I'm not just continually taking damage, and let's just blast the son of a gun. Perfect. Steam Dragon scales, base armor of 4 versus 2, so I guess it's slightly heavier than leather armor, or 5 rather, so even worse than I was suggesting. AC increases by 4 though, which is nice here. It's not often that I use Steam Dragon scales. Usually by the time that you're taking out Steam Dragons comfortably, you're far beyond needing to wear them. That might be a nice switch over here. We're at 3 and 5, and I should be doing this somewhere safer than in the middle of an unexplored floor with a centaur running around. Ooh, doesn't appreciably affect our skills whatsoever, so I'll happily switch over, get a few more points of AC to get us through this first part of the dungeon. So I walk towards them. I was hoping the centaur would take a step down at the same time as me, but I think I'm getting a little bit confused on turn order there, because as soon as we step, they just shoot us. Makes sense. The pains you pay for getting to move first all the time. There we go. Here's another non-poison affected target. Also hits decently well, so I think what I'd like to do is retreat around the corner and let them come to us, and a Hound and I together should be able to take care of that no problems. Perfect. And here's again where Poisonous Vapors is going to pay dividends. Because, I mean, I didn't even expect the Gnolls here. What I was hoping or thinking I was going to run into immediately was that Orc Priest that we saw. Being able to smite target the Orc Priests as they're trying to smite target us. It's definitely an appreciable little bit of a bonus here. Steam Dragon Scales have encumbrance of 0, which is nice. Do they really? Oh, I'm looking at base armor. My head was all switched around. I was looking at the base armor rating, thinking of encumbrance. But these are 0 encumbrance. Thanks, Gondikov. Making sure I didn't forget that for any longer than strictly necessary here. The Gnoll on Gnoll violence must end. I wish it could. I'm very much in the same boat there. It's one of the worst parts about playing as a hill orc, which is otherwise one of the more fun combos in the game, but just all of the orc on orc violence that not only you perpetrate, but cause. Going into orc as an orc priest of Bio and immediately causing civil war. Brother fighting brother. Mother fighting sister. You know, all of the family relations in different permutations and combinations. It's a sad time, to say the very least. And here we go. And actually, wait, now that I have these switched back the right way in my head, I can actually look at the base armor ratings properly and see where they lie as well. So yeah, the Steam Dragon Scale's actually really solid. So we just got offered another curse from our main buddy Ashenzari here. So I think that I'll just use that instantaneously, put it on the Steam Dragon Scales for now. We are still using a nice mixture of spellcasting and traditional fighting. So I think I will be happy with that. Again, always fine to also just nix any of these if need be. It's nice to get the advantage until then, as long as it's not something that we want to switch back to equipment-wise. But yeah, fighting, spellcasting, and evocations just gets its own category, so I'm thinking that's going to be a pretty huge boost in that department. So let's immediately curse this, our last piece of curseable equipment for now at least. And not too shabby whatsoever. Did fight one of these buddies already, and no problems there. Now we must have enough gold now, right? Up to 245. So we do have enough for the kite shield. I was about to say it might be tempting to get the Ring of Willpower, but I forgot that we'd have to break one of our curses to do so. And for now, we don't necessarily need the willpower, though it's getting to the point in the game where that may change. So, let us, though, head back up for that shield. Not too bad here. And we will try and find Sigmund on our way down. Our shield skill is up to 4.6 now, so still a ways away. We swing our mace. Actually, forgot that we don't have to swing anymore. We can just hit the @ sign here. You can see that our average attack delay is 1.0 exactly. And if we put on this son of a gun, it changes us to a 1.2 attack speed. Which isn't great, but it is a pretty huge defensive boost. And we're not always attacking things. We're often slinging some poisonous spells. And ideally more spells, if the game would be so kind as to throw some of those our way. So, I think I'm happy with that, and we should do a little bit of check here. D4 has Sigmund, so let's go go D4. 4. There we go. And I was about to say I don't remember where I left you, and then I also immediately almost made some horrible decisions. Let us drag you back here a bit, trying to stack on those poison stacks before we get confused. And this is where calls get a little bit interesting. Scythe is not too much damage on its own here. He will be attacking. That's slightly slower than other monsters. I believe that it did get changed. Or reverted, rather. But still a bit scary, especially if he deems going invisible. Ooh. And getting more confused is not fantastic. But we can try and get some swings in since we are in range anyway. Perfect. There we go. Much easier than our first attempts at trying to fight this buddy. And that will allow us to start heading back down. I guess we were on D7, were we? Perfect. Just D8, I guess. Just starting to explore. And was this? It was the way up. I should have probably checked in here before going up and spending all of our money. Would have been the prudent thing to do. But it is what it is. And it'd be expensive to buy the cloak and boots here. But with Ash and Zari, it's very nice to immediately get as many of our equipment slots filled as possible so that we have more options as to what we can enchant with the power of our deity here. Ooh, and that's also as much of this floor as we can explore. But it looks like the other downstairs from up above will take us into the unexplored section. So let's do so now. Hello, boulder beetle. Just a wee bit scary, but susceptible to poison. So if we can just lay it on thick. 32 damage. Okay, and this confirms a long-running question of mine, which is whether this number that is listed on this page changes proactively with the status of the beetle, whether they're just in walking mode or in rolling mode. And confirmed it does, because I always viewed them or examined them like this when they were already mid-roll and saw the 64 there and thought, oh, is it doubled? Does it go double 64 to 128? No, in fact, we have finally confirmed for myself that it's 32. Of course, a quick query on a bot could have fixed all those questions, but it's more fun to try and figure these things out as I try and summon in a hound to help us out. Don't think the poison runs concurrently as we're on a different floor, unfortunately, so we'll head down. Which was maybe a poor decision. You can't kill us, right? You can drain magic. Only 8 damage, though. Ideally, this rolling monstrosity here is dead before they hit us. But that might not be the case, so let's head back upstairs. Oh, we do drag you with us. Interesting. This buddy's also durably summoned, but no problems whatsoever there. And perfect timing on the death of the boulder beetle, of course, getting us that experience right as we try and run away in panic. Ooh. And an early scroll of acquirement. You love to see that. So let's check this baby out right away. That's actually a bit tough. My eyes were immediately drawn to the artifact text, of course. And seeing a helmet is nice for the reasoning that I was just giving a moment ago about trying to fill all of our slots as potential curse targets. A +6 quick blade is interesting, though. Way earlier than we'd normally expect to find a quick blade. There were like brand weapon scrolls in the shop, which I don't believe there were. We can even, I guess, do a quick check. And indeed, that is not the case. And it might lean me further in the direction of the quick blade, but as is, I think I might go the defensive route. It hurts for anybody who's playing as a short blades user, and seeing a D8 +6 quick blade is ridiculous in so many ways. But if I'm thinking more for the future, I think that it will eventually get phased out. And a helmet. I guess flying decks aren't great, even a standard helmet. be alright. Before I talk myself out of it, though, I might go with the helmet on this one. Again, apologies to anybody who's been desperately searching for a quick blade in all their games and is just in huge amounts of pain watching me throw this away from that direction. But I'm happy to play a little bit more on the defensive side of things, keep trying to raise our AC without sacrificing our spellcasting here, and of course, giving us more things to curse. Let's just poison you enough that even when you get teleported away, ideally, you get taken out on the other side of the level. In fact, I just noticed that we do have the feel a bit more experience tag. Perfect. But let's see, Erica. Yeah, I was pretty sure it was too early to be running into you. That's scary. A way scarier version of Sigmund. Usually just tempered by the fact that you don't see her at the early stages of the game. But as is, you're going to absolutely destroy us in just a few casts. So, I'm going to immediately press E and drop an exclusion on her that's full vision range. And I'd prefer not even exploring this area if possible. You're another scary fight. Less scary, of course, than Erica, who we were just talking about. But let's initiate with you. And then I might even drop some poison on the priest here. We are making noise near to Erica, which isn't the best. But there we go. We killed the orc priest. And then we'll drag the rest of our new friends on a merry journey upwards. And then let's use a combination of doggos and poison to deal damage to this buddy even as we retreat here. Because fortunately the dogs move faster than the average monster here, so even when we're running away like this, the dog is able to just nip at the heels of the orc. The only issue being when the doggo is out of sight range of us, they stop acting. But all is well, ended up taking care of that buddy without too much trouble. Oh me oh my, this is a bit scarier. Spit Acid at least low health, so can fortunately resort to our Ice Blast wand again here. Especially, yes, they are resistant to poison. That's unfortunate. So, not in a position of retreatability either. Yeah, and that's not great. Immediately get corroded, which is to be expected, I guess. Should be able to survive one more blast, so let's just run away. The most valid strategy in old DCSS play, of course. Just hightail it the heck out of there. Try and re-engage this fight. Maybe actually slightly closer. Don't want them right next to us, but we would like to be able to start blasting here. And I'm kind of committing myself to this fight, but we do have 3d11, or we had 3d11 the last time I checked. Up to 3d12 now, so that had the potentiality to just one-shot KO the Corrosive Dragon. Which, again, was no guarantee, but all worked out in the end here. That's probably Erica, if I had to guess. She was the only one, I think, that warranted the extremely dangerous tag, so let's just head out of there, but also heck out of there. And instead, not even go through that completely optional dungeon section. Perfect. We can return again at a slightly later date when we are feeling slightly more comfortable. And Orc Warrior with an even bigger weapon this time. Fun stuff. Thanks, game. But could at least stack up some poison here. Then bring this buddy upstairs. And let's try this again, shall we? So we might as well bring a doggo friend in. Not doing the nip in the heels strat this time, but still just as valid to get us in, or get in a little bit more damage on our side of things. Indeed, worked about perfectly. Finally, more spells. Oh my gosh. And we get Ogleb's Toxic Radiance. It's unfortunately a single school spell, so it's going to take us a little bit longer than normal to get up to that stage, but this is one of my favorite spells in the game. in terms of just general applicability. So let's try our best to survive long enough to be able to use that bad boy. And let's see, Ashnzari is inviting us to take part in elements and alchemy, so I think that's like all the spell schools now. Transmutation and poison for alchemy, and all the other kind of more standard elements for elemental. Let's double check, but yes please, we were just talking about our need for some extra training in poison magic. And this is actually an interesting one, because this is an upgrade, or a curse, paired with an upgrade, that I am probably interested in keeping around for a long time. If I want to be playing as a bit of a hybrid spellcaster, or maybe even eventually shifting into a bit more of a blaster caster role, then this will be a more permanent boost. Which actually I guess is a long-winded way of saying nothing here, because both these equipment pieces are very likely to be held on to and continually used for this foreseeable future. Maybe we'll get a magical kite shield. So in that spirit, I'm going to throw it onto our helmet here, and that's perfect. Oh, and I see, instead of PD, is it the number of cursed equipment items? Or PD is based off number of cursed equipment items? That would make sense. That's how it used to be. So that is cool. We do have CE Invis, which I didn't notice when we got that tick revealed to us, but we just gained clarity, which is awesome for some of the specific threats that we've actually already run into in this run alone, because Erica, who we ran away with our tails between our legs, or ran away from rather, one of the scary parts of her build was the ability to confuse us, and that will no longer be a problem whatsoever, which is pretty sweet. Hello, Prince Ribbit. A bit more of a manageable, unique fight here. We are running out of Ice Blasts, but they are kind of my go-to method for dealing with very evasive enemies like this. 42% chance to evade our Cursed Mace. Guess we could blast a couple times with Wand of Flame. See how that goes for starting the fight off. Okay, and quite well is the answer. So you know, this actually works for me. Let's just continually play like that. Perfect. Didn't even have to resort to using up the last 4 charges of our Ice Blast. Love to see it. Momentarily confused, which actually means absolutely nothing is done. Love to see it. Hello, friends. And Maurice, eh? High evasion, but this buddy does not have any poison resistance. Does have a Wand of Mind Burst, which is maybe relevant. Also wearing a cloak, which is nice. We were just talking about the desire for more slots here. The only issue, or not the only issue, but more so the main issue with Maurice here, is his utility as well. Being able to blink around, blink in behind us, you know, teleport behind you, and all that goodness or badness in this condition. But can at least just keep poisoning the son of a gun. Maybe I can use a spawned dog to keep Maurice busy here. Not if the dog is on the wrong side of the encounter, but that's fine, that's fine. Let us continue to just poison our new good friend here. Stop mind blasting me, sir, please, thank you. Also, the more you just want to fight our dog around the corner, I'm happy with that. That's 4 blasts of the wand, was it? I guess we can probably just see, right? Oh no, still has 2 charges left. Ouch. That's a bit scary. So let's make sure we're at the edge of vision range so we can just run away. Things go poorly. And perfect. Poison does the rest of the job for us there, as Maurice blinks away. Scary stuff, but where's your cloak, sir? Wait, where did you blink to? Hello? Huh. How did you get this far? Because there's an orc skeleton here too, but I don't think any of the orcs were wearing cloaks. So that's wild. Maybe chained 2 blinks immediately. Traveled a significant distance in those couple of turns. But there we go. It's another nice bit more of a throwaway slot for us here. Bees being a slightly bad opponent for us, unfortunately. They are susceptible to poison, I believe. I should double check that. They are indeed. So that's the one advantage we can eke out of this, but we are not resistant to poison right now. So that can start to add up in a bad way when you have the whole hive descending upon you. But all is well. Not too bad here. Should also maybe take stock of our throwing equipment. We have a few poison darts, a decent number of boomerangs too. At least a good start to a boomerang collection here, so we can eventually resort, or rather stop resorting, on using our stones for softening up damage and instead switch to something a little more permanent. Ooh, another scroll of blinking shop, plus even some more magic mapping scrolls. I think that's all pretty fantastic. I'm even tempted, because we have a decent number of blinking scrolls for the time being here, we will end up buying this one, almost guaranteed. But for now, we're good. So I think I will buy 1 magic mapping scroll, using up almost all of our money. And that will help us get a very early timed portal, if there's something that we would really rather not miss out on. It shows up in that regard. There we go. Not too bad. And even, wow, our throwing stone power is actually pretty strong, with just a training of 6.1 in throwing. It's funny, when I don't have to pay attention to skills at all because of the auto allocation on a Gnoll, it always surprises me how quickly certain things raise, or at least how quickly they hit a decent stage. Let's even double check here. We're now down to attack delay of 1.1 with our shield on. Really eyeing the moment that we tip over into 1 attack per turn territory. That's usually the go-to benchmark. And here we go. Ashens are inviting us for another vision right as we find another piece of equipment that almost maxes us out. We still have gloves and boots to go, I guess. But let's take a look at what our buddy has to offer. It was melee skills and companions. So summoning necromancy. I'm thinking that this is another one that is more of a short-term curse. I don't mind losing these. In the short term, it's really nice to have the extra skill training on their weapons that we're semi-relying on until we find all the spells we're looking for. Summoning necromancy again. Summon canine familiar. Been great so far, been really helping out. But in general, not something that we'll be relying on for the rest of the run in its entirety here. So this one's probably going on the cloak. Amulet of Reflection, or amulets in general, are interesting for cursing. Reflection is the one, or at least one of the necklaces that's most likely to see me be willing to curse it. But it's tough because, much like the rings, and I guess before I encapsulated old jewelry in this statement, but just the idea that that's usually what you're going to be switching on and off throughout the course of your run. And do I feel like fighting all of these orcs? I'm guessing standard orcs. Are these all going to be orc warriors and or ogres, maybe? It's also the mediocre threat as well. That could be priests, sorcerers. Or I would hope not sorcerers. Hopefully just orc wizards, now that I think about it for a split second. Let's see, we have no piercing attacks that could really take advantage of the setup here. We do have this nice hallway, for sure. No new spells. Ooh, OTR is really close, though. In fact, that's close enough to be castable in my book. And perfect time. Gondikov immediately asking right after we checked that. Yeah, so about 22% is what it looked like. Oh, and now we can see through walls. Right. Kind of forgot about that. Thanks, Ashanzari. So we've hit the astral sight point in Ashanzari's bonuses here. So we can actually kind of assess this fight a little bit. So I guess Gnoll Sergeants also count in that level. That makes sense. But we'd want to do it from up here. And I don't think any offensive capabilities are able to go through the wall. It just gives us the extra little bit of sight, unfortunately, but also makes sense. It's probably only fair that way. But I'm happy to get started here. Ooh, there was a troll in there, which is slightly scarier. Many Gnoll Sergeants with polearms as well, but with our lovely Ogreb's Toxic Radiance, that's a bit less of a problem than it otherwise might be. Especially since Ogreb's follows a slightly similar trend to like transmutation spells, just in terms of after casting it, it continually takes effect for a multitude of turns, which means even if your cast rate isn't exceptionally successful, or likely to be successful rather, you only need it to be activated every couple turns or so. Slightly less reliance than something that's your main source of damage that you're just going to be trying to apply to each and every enemy. And now that we get everyone to this level of poison, we're just going to back up a little bit. Downside being that we poison ourselves on a failed cast, but that's not the end of the world. And this troll is doing way better than I would like. Poison is never quite as effective against something that can regenerate at that speed. I was still hoping. One of your favorite combos is OTR and Ignite Poison. Been crossing fingers for me. Me too. I'm desperately hoping that we see that exact combo at some point here, because I am very much in the same boat of thinking that the OTR Ignite Poison combo is essentially game winning on its own, or at least very much puts you in the right camp to have a successful run. Let's try an OTR again. Switch over. Should you go Poison Darts and just try and amplify the poison high enough that the troll actually feels it? Between that or like Boomerangs actually would be dealing a decent chunk of change now. Let's see about the Wand of Flame is a 2d8 roll. Up to 16. Not bad. Let's give it a couple shakes here as we continue to poison with our aura. And you know the combination effect here? Perfect. Just good enough. Hello, more friends. Getting very lucky on these cast rolls. The 22%, I mean, statistically, you'd be expected to fail 1 out of 5, which is actually probably kind of what we've seen. But anecdotally, in the way that statistics, you know, work when you're in the heat of the moment, is of course that it's always way worse than it could have possibly seemed. So I was expecting to somehow miraculously fail like 7 of those in a row. So that's how our luck usually shakes out with those percentages. But I'll take what I can get, game. And the seeing through walls thing is very trippy to me. It is nice, especially for situations like this with really kind of twisty, windy corridors, because at the end of the day, it will allow us to know when we don't want to even get started in a fight. Like this. Very early 7-headed Hydra. Probably a bit of a rough fight. So let's just immediately exclude that son of a gun. We can come back to them at a later date. It's slightly more feasible. In fact, how much has our cast rate? It's already gone down another 5% just over the course of these few fights, thanks to the number of enemies we were able to take out. Do you love to see? Ooh, Yaks. Definitely better than a 7-headed Hydra by a long shot. Still not completely ideal. But we can start with the Toxic Radiance as soon as possible. Maybe even get... Oh, I was going to summon in a dog, but right, they will immediately get hit by said Toxic Radiance. That's fine. Let's take these buddies on little by little here. Oh, hello? Not too bad here. I think we're getting lucky with a lot of dodges and 0 rolls on attacks, or at least 0 rolls after damage reduction, but I'll definitely take it. we can finally fill out one of those final 2 slots, putting on a pair of gloves, giving us another 2 points of AC on top of things. And things are looking up, to say the very least. Stack some poison. I guess I might as well go for Toxic Radiance instead of the old-fashioned way here. And again, let's do so. Ooh, as we start to draw a whole lot of attention to ourselves. I don't know what I'm going to wake up here, but I'm hoping it's worth it. No, or we just don't wake them up and just sneak past. That works for me too. I want to take just the basilisk upstairs with me. Fortunately, that's not going to do it, so we have to immediately head up before we're turned into stone there. And basilisk and black bear? Less up my alley, especially if that black bear has managed to switch positions with a 2-headed ogre friend. There we go. Let's take you upstairs. I actually wanted to both stand next to basilisk. Perfect. And this way, even if we get turned to stone, we at least have somebody on our side to continue both dealing damage and distracting that buddy. And perfect. Gonna do our best to steer clear. Oh jeez, the 2-headed ogre as a black bear suddenly surprises us around a corner. Not the kind of surprise you want in life, but at least not lethal in this specific situation. 2-headed ogre is problematic though. Just not too sure of how we want to deal with that. At range with poison, it's not too bad, I guess, putting in the occasional hound. Can maybe make do. Wouldn't actually be the earliest 2-headed ogre we managed to take out. Damn. Of course, we immediately fail our first desired attack there. And the second one. And see, this is more like it. This is the kind of spell failure that I was expecting from the game. Well, probably want to keep it up, especially since if I can keep the bullfrog in front of us, which of course doesn't last as long as I would have liked, but it's still not horrible. It sucks how well we're doing up against this ogre right now, because it makes me tempted to stick it through, but as soon as they close the distance, I'm going to be singing a different tune, so let's maybe switch off of that, and we'll even go to the 3rd stairway there that wasn't quite in the same area. We'll start exploring from this side and see how that goes for us here. Ooh, as we get another curse option. In fact, let's immediately check it out here. Armor and shields and evocations. All things that I love, for sure. Shields will eventually be unnecessary, ideally at least, when we hit a certain point. I think naturally, without Ashanzari and without any potential lucky manual finds, we're looking at level 27 for a Gnoll is about like level 16 or something like that across all of your skills. So we won't need that shield bonus if we're sticking to a kite shield. Not so much the case if we do end up switching upwards a bit. So all of that just to kind of play in and factor into our decision making as to which item we curse, because we're definitely taking these bonuses, but the gloves are likely to stick around for the time being unless we find ourselves like an artifact set, or maybe, I guess, like a pair of gloves of intelligence or something like that would pay dividends. But that's likely to stick around for now. I guess in a similar sense to the kite shield, and it's just the question of enchanted kite shield showing up versus enchanted gloves or artifact of either kind. And I would say from experience, at least anecdotal experience, that the shields are more likely to show up in the future. So I think I'll curse the gloves here, and that will allow us to hold on to those specific bonuses for as long as possible. Very interested for when we get to the point where everything is fully cursed and we're going to be able to swap out equipments little by little having to deal with the stat changes that come along with any decision making in that department. And by stat changes, I of course mean not stat changes and instead skill changes, since those are legally distinct terms in regards to the game here. And perfect. An unseen horror also being absolutely no problem for us with our See Invisible granted by good old Ashinzari. Love to see it. And there we go. Slowly but surely continuing to level up all these different skill departments here. Oh geez. Oh wait, I should actually check. Vampire bats, while still being bats, are slightly scarier. Hard to hit. Oh wait, immune to poison. Okay, yes, that's too bad. I was hoping to be able to take advantage of some undodgeable attacks here, but doesn't matter if we're just able to get lucky instead. Oh, I like that all the fountains immediately fill with blood. So I'm guessing as we step over the altar of Kiku here, Kiku Quadga, I guess is the better way. Haven't talked about the pronunciation of that name in a hot minute here. Aha, and again, Ashinzari's wonderful astral sight, allowing us to just avoid a fight that we'd rather not deal with for the time being here. And with that, let's maybe go to a stairway that's slightly further away. So I think we'll just continue down the dungeon for a little bit. I'm oftentimes torn the other direction of going lair first or maybe even orc in specific games. And that's largely due to missing See Invisible for shadows like the one we're fighting right now, as well as any unseen horrors that show up these stages of the dungeon and beyond. But with See Invisible, we should be able to wade our way through without too much trouble. And instead, can maybe enter our lair in a slightly better place, or a slightly more comfortable place at the very least. Let's mark all the haste, all the heal wounds, and the curing. Potion of Attraction is an interesting option, but one that I'm not fully comfortable with yet. Definitely been burned by that before. And perfect. Now, just before we head down to the rest of the dungeon here, I'm going to take a quick 30-second break. Just going to pour out some food for the ye old doggo, and then we'll be back on to continue on with our trip here. Antikov mentioning, you don't know if you've seen 51 charges of polymorph pre-layer before. Me neither, especially since that's likely to go untouched, unfortunately. Would have loved to have seen that kind of ridiculous magnitude in our ice blasts, but hey, the game knows its audience. It knows exactly what I'm actually wanting and what I would usually throw away. Of course, not yet, because polymorphs I do tend to keep around for very specific uniques and largely for shapeshifters and being able to force their changes. But I'm going to run out real quick. I'll be right back. See you in just a sec.